Kaizen is the Japanese word for continuous improvement, and it dates back to the late 40s in Japan when William Deming took the idea over to them. And essentially it's continuous improvement. Keyword improvement.
What the Japanese understood is that if you make small changes over time, then you're going to have massive changes over a year, over 2 years, over 5 years. So the idea of incremental improvements is that you're constantly getting better, that 1% better every day, and you get massive amounts of improvement over time. So innovation is about step change. It's about what can we do from a dollar standpoint to invest in our facility, invest in our approach to customers to be able to get a step change in that improvement, right? We want to do things quickly. We want to see massive amounts of change.
Kaizen, over a period of years, are thousands of little changes and improvements. Think of software. We're constantly making that software better. Think of any product. We analyze it, maybe try to take cost out of it, maybe make it have a little bit more utility. But these changes are literally in the thousands. And if you're around Captive Air for a year, you'll see these change notices going into manufacturing every single week.
You end up getting exponential growth through continuous improvement, through Kaizen, right? But it doesn't feel that way in the beginning. So in the beginning, right, you actually, as you're doing these small incremental changes, you don't see anything and you can get frustrated. A lot of people do get frustrated because they don't see those early gains, right? But eventually you're going to see those gains grow, and again, they're exponential. So as we get better here, then we get better on top of that, and we get better, this is an exponential growth. And so you have exponential improvements versus just linear improvements.
You have to be taking in new knowledge, and you have to be making observations if you want to engage in Kaizen. You can't just sit there and look at something and say, oh, an idea popped into my head. It usually doesn't work that way.
So interesting that the history of Kaizen was post-World War II Japan. They did not have a lot of resources, right? So they were trying to figure out a way, how can we get better without doing a lot of innovation? We didn't have money to do investments, right? So they focused in on this continuous improvement, these small step changes, everybody involved with improvement. And so that's the same thing with smaller companies. Smaller companies, you don't necessarily have a lot of dollars in those early days, especially as a new company, to be able to do investments. So Kaizen's your most important weapon to get this improvements in your company. What happens if you do an innovation, you don't have Kaizen, you'll get better, but that performance will slowly decay over time.
Now, if you never innovate, you die. Because you can do Kaizen to the end of time, every product has a shelf life. So think of a fireplace in your home. Will it be any different 100 years from now? Probably not much. Because there's some things that are not acceptable or adaptable in Kaizen. Most products would be, but again, particularly in the business we're in, almost every product has a shelf life. It may be 10 years, 20 years, it may be 100 years. But somewhere down the line, a better idea replaces it. And usually that would be an innovation.
Once we get that step change, we tack on that Kaizen, that continuous improvement, so we continue to get better. So that's really important that you have innovation and Kaizen. So you get that step increase, and then you have those small individual gains over time.
And you see this happen in the marketplace. A company comes out with a really good idea, but someone else copies it, uses Kaizen, and they put a little better spin on it. They maybe add some features, maybe they drive some cost out of it, and they take that market share away from the company not doing the Kaizen. People become very comfortable, very lethargic, and you have an energetic competitor that's just going to run by you. And as Peter Drucker said in one of his columns, by the time you see it in the numbers, the hour is very late. So you see your sales declining, but you don't really know why, and then you start investigating, they're still declining. The hour's too late.
If you're not getting better, you're getting worse, right? It is, you're always moving in one direction, right? We're never standing still, so we can't rest. One of the things interesting about Toyota is, a lot of this, the principles of lean manufacturing like Kaizen, we learn through the Toyota production system. And one of the things that Toyota management says is that Where it's most dangerous is when we're very successful. Because when we're very successful, right, that's when we sort of kind of rest on our laurels. We say, okay, well, we've achieved this level of performance, and that's when our competition will take advantage of us.
You see it with companies all the time. They fail because they felt like we've got it all done, we have it all figured out. And it may be true for a period of time, but competition is ubiquitous. I always like to remind our people that there may be some person in their basement right now figuring out how to take down captive air. We better be thinking about that. And we better think of the good ideas before that person does.